Good evening. Welcome to another episode of the Big Freakin' Friday Show here on the Big Freakin' College Football Mafia Network. I am Moen, joined tonight by Wild Ute. Nate is running a little behind. Nate is late, and that ain't great, but Nate will be here shortly. So we're going to talk a little bit about the games coming up this week. We're going to get into this Pat 40 article that proves my point that the Big Ten and SEC are forming a super league. But before we get to all that, it is the eve of the Holy War. How you feeling, you?
I'm feeling great about the Holy War. I have very low expectations going into the game. Everyone's basically saying it's going to be a blowout for BYU. So really, that's all I've heard is chirping how great BYU is. BYU must be the greatest team ever. I don't even know why Utah's showing up for the game. Honestly, might as well forfeit, right? That's kind of my mentality.
That's at Rice-Eccles Stadium too, by the way.
That's at Rice-Eccles Stadium, and apparently Cougar fans are going to be, covering most of the stadium and everything. I mean, it seems like this game's completely over before it's even played. So, hey, whenever that happens, I'll tell you what. I mean, there's no expectations. The Cougars have everything to play for, all the pressure on their back. It's going to be a war. It is going to be a war.
Yeah, I'm afraid I can't stay up that late to watch that game unless I put money on it. That's it.
At least keep your TV on, Moan, so we can get a view out of that, please.
That's like
anyone out there, if you can't stay up, just DVR the game.
Is that on Fox or is that on ESPN?
It's on ESPN.
Okay. Let's say hello to some people. We've had some people jump in here a little early. We'll go ahead and say hello to them. I like it when people come in here early. Joaquin Morales, the Sun Devil, is first in the house. He says, hey, CFM fam. Smash that like button, folks. It's free. Yes, please. Smash the like button. If you're not a subscriber, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. If you want to get some added benefits, you can become a member of the channel. Just a reminder, we read all super chats. So if something must be said, make it a super chat. Otherwise, we defer to member comments. Antoine Coates is in the house, says, I think Utah is going to win. I don't think it's going to be close.
Wow. I think you're the first one to say that, Antoine. Seriously. I don't think anyone's thinking Utah's going to run away with this game. If anyone's running away, everyone thinks it's going to be BYU. This one.
Yeah, I would go ahead, Antoine, if you've got the money, go ahead and put some money on that money line for that game if you got that much faith in it. I don't think I will do that. Nathan's in the house. He says, hi, guys. Hit the like. Our buddy Daniel Gygax says, hi, I'm going to watch later. My daughter has her senior night marching band performance. Congratulations, Daniel. I might be a little bit of an aficionado of marching bands, so I might hold it to a high standard. Got our first super chat here from Stormy Cyclone. Hey. Football and basketball both happening. It is a great time of year. It absolutely is, Stormy Cyclone. We're in the depths of the college football season, week 11. Definitely a great time to be alive. Thank you for that super chat, Stormy Cyclone. Hi, gentlemen. Big 12 is safe this week. My Houston Cougars have a bye. Thank God. BYU just win, baby. Daddy Big 12 needs 2 CFP slots. Not going to happen. Earl Carr, hey Mo and hey Wild, good to see you, Earl. Big week for Earl. We got one of these BYU fans in here. Hi, two geniuses. Let's go. Drama-filled week 11. Yeah, absolutely, Greg. Thanks for stopping by. Yeah. There's 3. Well, I guess you're right. There's probably 2 geniuses here. Ricky Tungate with the $10 super chat, dropping the 10-piece McNugget on us. Great hat. Yes, the Indiana Hoosiers are my favorite team this weekend. Second favorite team this weekend. Go Hoosiers. Run up the score on Michigan, if you would, please.
That is unbelievable. We are there.
Embarrass them.
Moen, as an Ohio State supporter, how are you feeling about this game? This Indiana-Michigan game? What's your thoughts on it?
I think Indiana's a better team than I think they're a really good team, and I think they're going to run up the score in Michigan, and I really hope they do, because Michigan has never hesitated from running up the score on Indiana. Antoine Code says, I don't gamble. I think BYU might be a little too tight for this game.
I don't think so. No, I think they were going to be. The CFP coming out, I think, completely changed things. The Ute went into it on Wednesday. He broke it down very detailed. I think they have different goals. I think this game has changed. Now for Utah, I don't know where your fans came out, but Thursday, it's like all of a sudden the whole internet was Ute fans coming out and finally getting social. Ute's been doing it for 2 weeks. So I'm not sure where that came from, but BYU's got different motivations. So if you're a bettor, I'm not saying bet for them or against them. I'm just letting you know everything changed with the college football playoff announcement. It changed paradigms, and I'm talking deep. Fans, administration, and if the team was able to focus and stay on the game, then I think it let off the pressure a little bit because now they know where they're at, right? There's no guessing game anymore where they're going to be in the CFP. Everybody knows now they're 9, and that's not going to change until this weekend's game. So now everything, does Kalani keep them on track, or does the noise, hurt or help them? I don't know. But I think going into the game, they would have been tight. I agree with you. Go ahead, you.
Yeah, I think that you just nailed it. We talked about this on Wednesday. BYU has everything to play for, everything in front of them, and how are they going to perform with that pressure? That's brand new pressure. They haven't had it this season. They haven't had it over the last few seasons. I mean, everything's in front of them. And so are you going to play great? You're going to play up to how you've been playing, or is that going to be a little bit crushing? Is it going to be a little bit tight? But you just don't know until you're in that moment and the pressure comes on and maybe you're in some adversity or something like that. So we'll learn a lot about the Cougars, during the Holy War, because there's going to be adversity. I mean, it's going to be wild and everything. There's going to be a lot of emotion. There's some turnovers in that game. So we'll find out a lot about both teams, but especially the Cougars.
I find it interesting, Nate. You mess with your camera and suddenly my camera goes out of focus. I'm putting that entirely on Nate.
I have no idea. I don't know. You said my mic was off. Is it still bad?
Yeah, it's great now.
Okay. I just reset it. So, yeah, it should be good. Go ahead, Moen. I didn't mean to cut your flow. You're doing a great job.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, so you're doing fantastic.
Glenn Lumen is checking in from all the way in the Philippines. In the, I don't know, is that cross the international date line? I don't know.
Yes, it is.
He's checking in tonight from tomorrow. Thanks for stopping by, Glenn. Earl Carr says, my friends in the BYU-Utah game, I must remind people BYU has not beat Utah in almost 20 years back to hardline play.
No. They won in 2021, and that hurt Utah.
Yeah.
Utah might have been in the CFP if they beat BYU that year. They won the Pac-12. It was brutal, actually. Go ahead. You can talk about
I see that big old smile on your face, Nate.
I was there.
Week.
I was there at the game, so yeah.
Yeah, that wasn't a very fun result and everything, and that was supposed to be the 10th straight win for the Utes, but it was squashed. So Utah's had to have the last couple of years of hearing it from BYU fans that they haven't beat BYU in a couple of years. So there's a lot to play for in this game. There's some other great games too. We got that LSU and Bama game, Ole Miss, Georgia. Oh my gosh, there's some big time SEC games that we got to get into.
Yes, sir. You guys want to get into the games, or you want to do this Pat Forte article first?
Did you already say hi to everybody?
We got friends call me Sean. Okay, only way the ACC Big 12 gets 2 CFP bids is if a 12-0 Miami or a 12-0 BYU loses in their respective conference championship games. Same boat, different name.
So let's go through that really quick because it's a great point by friends call me Sean here. So BYU wins, loses the championship game. Do they get in? Right now, it doesn't look good because they're 9. ACC, if Miami gets to the end, do they win? Yes, because they're ranked 4. That's why the rankings matter, people. These people that are telling you, it doesn't matter, they can earn their way up. That's complete garbage. If they're this low, there's almost no possibility they can climb They might get very lucky. The SEC could cannibalize itself. The Big Ten, Indiana could lose 2 games immediately. Those things could happen, but the chances of that are extremely low. So for the Big 12 to get 2 teams in, BYU has to get to the very end, lose a game, and get lucky in the polls. The ACC, if Miami loses a game, they get in with 2. If SMU gets to the very end but loses, they'll have 3 losses. They won't get in. So, and Clemson's the same way. If Clemson gets to the very end, but Miami's also taking that spot and they win out, now Clemson's got 3 losses. They're out as well. So
the big caveat to that, Nate, just to add on to your point, is if SMU wins the ACC and it becomes like a BYU versus a Miami situation, well, somebody beat SMU, someone didn't.
Yep.
And so I think that BYU would get ahead of Miami if they both lost in the championship game. If they're undefeated.
That would be great.
You beat the team that they lost to. I don't know how anyone could make the argument at that point, but you never know.
Their argument is 4 versus 9. I think that would be the argument to the starting. Anyways, good point.
Earl Carr wanted to clarify. His comment was regarding Salt Lake City. They have not beat Utah in Salt Lake.
Oh, yeah, that's possible. Were you at that game? That was when you were in school, right?
Yeah, I was right out of school. I think I was working that day.
Okay.
So
all right.
I couldn't make that game. Thank goodness, too. That was
a
really
rough day
for you fans. That was like a last-second touchdown pass from BYU to win the football game. Yeah.
Basically, the quarterback stayed alive for 15 seconds or something to find a tight end late in the end zone. I mean, it was just – but that's – if you're not free – and we got a lot of people watching this, Big Ten, not a lot of SEC, but ACC and certainly Big 12. If you're new to the Holy War, for one thing, please stay up tomorrow night and watch it. I guarantee Ute and I will both be there. It'll be a lot of fun. But the more important thing is this game, I think they said out of the 17 of the last 20 games were 1 possession. And out of those 17, like 10 were less than 3 points or 3 points or less. So this game is always tight, like all rivalry games are. Go ahead, Mo. I'm sorry.
All right. Tony Lawson says, will there be a segment on the total collapse of the Badgers tonight? I don't think so, Tony. But I would ask you the question. I've asked this before. Who has the axe?
Yes.
Who has the axe, Tony? Win that axe, and then you can start jabbering at the Badgers.
Absolutely right.
All right, let's go ahead and get into picks, guys.
Let's do it. Yep, let's do it.
Let's look at standings first. I don't know if you did this on Wednesday's show, Nate.
No, you can do it again.
Nate finished last week 7-1.
Don't call it a comeback, baby.
Wild Ute finished 1-7.
How is that even possible?
You picked 1 team correct and 7 incorrect.
I want to recount and moan. I was leading this whole poll a couple weeks ago. What happened?
Well, I'll tell you what happened. Remember last year I was pretty good picking. You remember? I did a pretty good job last year. I'm on my way back.
I finished 500, which is better than not finishing 500.
That's your average. I mean, 500, you're doing very well, actually.
Yeah. Pickles was 2-6.
Ooh.
Becky was 3-5. Rock came in at 6-2. Rock is still in the lead, 47-33. Nate,
so I'm going to get some games this week. I'm feeling it.
Okay. All right.
Let's go.
Let's take a look at the games this week. Let's start with Georgia-Ole Miss. Georgia favored by 3.
Yeah, Georgia in this game is going to take care of business. Ole Miss escaped with some wins this year and everything. I thought they were going to be better before the season started. I just think that they're above average, but they're not an elite SEC team this year. I think Georgia gets them, and I think it's going to be pretty substantial, 2 possessions.
I'm completely opposite. Ole Miss came out and put up 63 points, 500-plus yards, 6 or 7 touchdowns last week. Yes, Georgia is Georgia, but they're not the same Georgia we've been used to the last 4 or 5 years. I think Ole Miss takes care of business on the road.
This isn't on the road. This is in Oxford.
Well, that's even better. I'll take the 3 points.
Give me Georgia. If you haven't seen the injury list for Ole Miss, it's, I think, 2 pages long. The total injury list for this game, a lot of guys are out.
Right.
Georgia plays good 1 week, awful the next week. They were awful last week. They'll be good this week.
Okay. That's what you think, so you guys are probably right.
Michigan at Indiana. Indiana favored by 14 points, 2 touchdowns.
Look at this, guys. All of us are picking Indiana to beat the Michigan Wolverines by more than 14 or more.
That is crazy.
What world are we living in? What world are we freaking living in? Hey, remember the days of Jim Harbaugh and Connor Stallions? Remember all that cheating that happened in the past? It's no longer there, and Michigan's fallen back down to earth. They should never have had a national championship last year with all the cheating garbage and everything. And this is sweet justice for the Wolverines right here this season. Indiana big.
I agree. Indiana big.
Yeah, I agree. Indiana big.
Yeah. After this week, we'll just call them Windiana. Next, we've got a Big 12 matchup. Colorado traveling to Lubbock to play
This is a
Texas
big game.
Tech. Texas Tech coming off that upset of undefeated Iowa State. I like Texas Tech, guys. They showed me something last week. Looked like Iowa State was going to win that game, and Texas Tech, there was like 30 seconds left, and it was pouring rain, and they just seemed to make the plays, and I think they do the same this time. Colorado's favored by 3.5.
Go ahead, Ute. I'll do.
The Buffs are so explosive. They're so much fun to watch. Watched a lot of Colorado games this year, a few Texas Tech. Just feel like they're kind of similar teams in some way. Like Texas Tech is just not quite as good at the highest end. They've got Taj Boyd, but I think with Shador Sanders, Hunter, and all the rest of the peeps over there in Colorado, I just think that they're going to pull this game out. They're playing pretty dang good football right now. They are legitimate at Big 12 title contender, guys. Seriously. The Buffs could win the Big 12 conference to get to the playoffs. That's how hot this team could get, and they've got the top-end players to do it. They've got the best players in the Big 12, the 2 best players in the Big 12.
Yeah, I don't argue that at all. I took Texas Tech. I think the points are a gift, and Colorado definitely has everything going for them. They're fighting for the CFP, all that other stuff. 2 things. I think Colorado's going to be tight tomorrow because now everybody's paying attention to them. Not in it's a prime show, let's watch the carnival, but you're a football team. We want you to either win or lose, right? So now people are looking at them as a team rather than a sideshow. How are they going to handle that pressure? The second part of it is Taj Brooks. He wants to be drafted in the NFL. He's playing good. And as Moen said, Texas Tech winning on the road and winning that game in the weather and everything else against them, and Iowa State had everything to go for. I think Texas Tech is going to win this. So we'll have to see.
All right. Moving on to the Dumbo Gumbo matchup. Alabama is at LSU. Alabama's favored by a field goal, guys.
I don't trust LSU this season. I don't trust the squad at all. Alabama, it's hard to trust them too. So that's why this game's kind of a tricky one to pick and everything. But at the end of the day, just my lack of trust with LSU and that squad. There's just something off with LSU this year and even last year. Maybe it's the Kelly regime. I just don't think they're quite as good as most think they are. So I'm going to take Bama in this.
Yeah, I think I picked LSU as my upset pick when we did our preseason. I walked away from that a few weeks ago. I think Alabama's going to win this. They have something to prove. Talking about trying to prove doubters. Right now, people are actually doubting Alabama, which is crazy. When was the last time for an entire season there were all these questions? So I think Alabama's got something to prove. And finally, Kalen DeBoer's offense may start to click. So I'm kind of hoping that that's where we end up.
This game's in Death Valley. I like LSU at home.
That's fair.
I think they're both inconsistent teams, but LSU is more consistent when they are at home. So I like
there
LSU.
You go. Okay.
Moving on to the Peacock game of the week. And if you want to know why this game is on Peacock this week, we will talk about that a little later.
Okay.
This is a whiteout game. This is a night game. Washington travels to Penn State. Penn State coming off the loss to Ohio State. Penn State's favored by 2 touchdowns, guys.
Penn State all day in this game. After the loss, they're going to be hungry. It's at Penn State. It's a long road trip. Washington's been playing a lot of games now, Big 12 football. We're in the heart of the meat of the season and everything. I just think that running into a Penn State's going to be too much for them, and Penn State's going to rock them physically.
I just think Washington.
Maybe 21 points.
Oh, see, and that's the difference. I think they cover. So I don't think they win outright. You're right. I agree.
Just speaking from losses, Penn State usually bounces back very well after a loss.
Okay.
If they're not playing Ohio State in a whiteout game, they're very successful. About the only time they stumble is when they play Ohio State. Thank you, James Franklin.
A lot of people do that.
James Franklin's 1-10 now.
Yeah.
So I like Penn State. I like Penn State by 17 to 20 points.
Okay.
All right, guys. Now we get into the meat of it. The BYU Cougars travel to Salt Lake City to play the Utah Utes. Spread is 3.5, favoring BYU. Tell me why you're going to win, Nate.
You want me to go first? Okay.
Go ahead, Nate.
Like I said, so before this week, BYU had different motivations. There's PTSD with both of these teams dealing with the other team. Both teams have trauma. Some 40 years, some 3 years. But both these schools have big-time weights on them when this game comes around. People don't, unless you live here, you wouldn't even really know. Anyway, BYU had different motivation until Tuesday night. So this weekend, I see two outcomes. If BYU is +1 in the turnover margin, I think they win by more than 2 touchdowns. If it's even or even minus, Utah probably with that 3 points covers and can win the game. That's how close it could be. So the first quarter, and Ute's going to tell you this, the first quarter is going to tell the tale. In my opinion, if Utah hangs on and they're within a touchdown in the first quarter and it looks like it's a fair fight, momentum isn't all in the Cougars' hands, Utah might keep this low and it might be a 21-20 type of a game. But if BYU gets up more than 14 points in the first half, there was a good chance Utah quits. So, in my opinion, 2 choices. I think BYU wins. I do think they're going to win, but it's either going to be 1 possession or it's going to be multiple possessions. So that's how I look at it.
I'd agree that BYU has more paths to victory in this football game. I think that if BYU gets up early, like Nate mentioned, I think that they could run away with it. That's the biggest fear from like the Ute perspective, because Utes don't have the firepower offensively to get back in the game if they're down 2 scores. That's typically how this football game hasn't gone, though. And Utah's rolling out a brand new quarterback that hasn't started all season long. It's going to be Brandon Rose. What Brandon Rose does well is he's actually a mobile quarterback. So for once this season, Utah is going to have a run game from the quarterback, whereas Isaac Wilson and Cam Rising were certainly not that. That's going to be a different element that actually can attack BYU a little bit more dangerously than just an Isaac Wilson arm. So throwing out Brandon Rose out there, I think it's going to generate some juice offensively. Move the football. Can you score in the red zone if you're the Utes? That's been a trouble all season long. They're going to have to put touchdowns in. Field goals are going to kill you in this game. You're going to have to score touchdowns. I see this one being close back and forth, though. I don't see BYU running away with it in the first quarter. I think the Utes are going to put up a stone wall there, play some serious defense. I mean, Utah, guys, has a top 10 defense nationally. It's not like a joke on the defense. Like we're talking about like a talented squad that is horrible offensively, that has been horrible, one of the worst in Division I offensively. So you throw out a new quarterback, it's a new dynamic quarterback run game gets going. If you can even have average offensive performance, you're going to have a chance to win this football game 100%. So turnovers are going to play like a factor in this. Emotion's always high. You never know what to expect and everything, but I see it being close. I see Utah putting up a 2-point conversion at the end of the game to win by 1 point, 25-24.
There you go. I would say this: if it's a shootout, meaning more than 30 points, BYU wins it.
100%.
There's not enough offense on the Utah side.
Yep.
Mormon Vampires.
Yeah, it's nighttime too. I forgot to mention.
Night game.
That's a secret power, though.
I'm taking BYU. The Mormon Vampires will win. Miami at Georgia Tech. Miami at Georgia Tech. Miami's favored by 12 points here. We all picked Miami.
When Rock calls in, we'll have him break down Miami.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, Georgia Tech is not going to beat Miami.
No, there's no question. 25.5 is not. They're gonna. So Miami was promoted as the one that won the eye test, right? BYU lost the eye test. Miami won the eye test because of their powerful offense. So, in my opinion, they're going to try to pile on that narrative. If they would score 4 touchdowns normally, they're going to score 8. They're going to do whatever they can to keep that ranking, and the best way to do that is eye test. If Georgia Tech keeps this close, and I'm dead serious here, if this is a 1-possession game and it's in even the low 30s, perceptions can change with this Miami team because their defense has not been good. They've been boat racing people, but they haven't necessarily shown a lot of propensity to put up stonewall defense. So there is that one little lingering thing in the back of your head that says, you can't be, but 25.5 points is a lot. So $10 on the spread, you could win.
Miami is explosive. Georgia Tech is not. Georgia Tech was supposed to be really good this year. They're 5-4. Don't think much of Georgia Tech. Not too impressed by Georgia Tech. I like the high-end players for Miami. Cam Ward is a stud. Martinez is a stud. I think that they're going to roll.
There you go.
It's not going to be too hard.
In defense of Georgia Tech, their quarterback's been banged up all season. He's been in and out and in and out. So, last game, Florida State at Notre Dame. I mentioned earlier, why is Washington at Penn State on Peacock?
Yeah.
Because NBC saw this game preseason and said, got to have it in prime time. They assumed this was going to be a top 10 matchup. It is not a top 10 matchup. Notre Dame's top 10, but Florida State surely ain't. The spread on this one, guys, is 25.5 points. I took Florida State. I have no inkling that Florida State's going to win this game, but they're going to score some garbage time points, and Notre Dame is not going to cover 25.5.
25.5 is insane.
Yeah.
That's just too many points to give any Florida State. Oh my. I have zero confidence that Florida State's going to win the game, just like you, Moen. They're going to lose. It's like, how bad are they going to lose? It's probably going to be in the 17, 20, 21 to 24 range. But outside of 24 points, it's, man, what a slap in the face for the Noles. What a slap in the face.
Yeah.
And this game is on NBC, guys. Like it shows the brands. You can suck at football, but if you got a big brand, you're still going to get TV ratings.
Yeah. Florida State. Look, I love Florida State. Everybody knows it. I'm on record saying I love Florida State. But this, again, I'm going to point to the College Football Playoff Committee. If BYU was disrespected, what do you think about Notre Dame? Yeah, they have one loss. It was bad, but Tennessee has a loss too. And the polls and the people like watching Notre Dame. We all expected Notre Dame to be a little bit higher in that poll, and they're 10 behind BYU. So how do you think they're feeling? Because they're not in the conversation. And the national perception after the CFP announcement came out, they weren't talking about Notre Dame at all. And it's been like that all week. How much do you think they love hearing that BYU's getting this national narrative? They were disrespected, and nobody even mentions what happened to Notre Dame. So in my opinion, this is another one of those games. They could go in and play sloppy because they're trying to do more than they're supposed to. And this game could be closer than people think. Or they could go in, really take the bull by the horns, and they could put up a big number saying, hey, we're flashy too. So I think this is one of those tip-top games. I wouldn't bet this game. Even at 25.5, I would not bet this game. I took Florida State only because of the points, but I'm telling you, be careful.
I would just say this. I think Notre Dame could easily get up 35-0 on them, and Freeman
could quit.
Freeman will pull his starters. He will pull his starters.
Possible.
Yeah. So I think they'll score garbage time points. We got a super chat from Ryan Willie. Really, Florida State over Notre Dame. I think we can all agree Florida State is not winning this game.
We're taking the points, Ryan.
We're taking the points. 25.5. That is an ungodly amount of points.
Rock. Rock, we
Rock.
can hear the
What's going
background.
on, guys? How
There
are
you
you?
are. Okay. Good. How are you doing?
You know, it's the last 2 weeks have been like a bad country song, other than I don't have a pickup truck, but I'm doing all right.
For those that don't know, he had COVID for the third time, right?
I had COVID for the third time. I had a funeral, a pet die, like everything you put in a country song other than whiskey and a pickup truck. So it's
That's
good
brutal.
to like be sidetracked on whether Miami's passing the beauty test after 20 years of failing it miserably.
The eye test is what it is, right? The eye test.
Yeah, the beauty test, the eye test,
Okay.
whatever Joe Klatt wants test.
So we just quickly breezed by Miami because we knew you were going to be joining. So tell us how Miami wins this game and tell us how they have trouble with Georgia Tech.
Well, I think in this game that we'll know what's going to happen in this game in the first 10 minutes, because we'll know whether Haynes has like his arm at, whatever shots he's going to have, whether he has any ability to really pass past 20 yards. And if he doesn't, then Miami's going to get to stack the box, and we don't have to worry as much about the fact that the secondary on the defensive side is bad. The one thing I will say is I would expect Miami to, if you watch the last couple of games, and everyone knows how porous the defense has been, it's particularly about the secondary. It was when they've been playing man-to-man, that's when they've really been getting crushed over the last several weeks. And when they've sort of held their, made a comeback against Cal, last week about Duke, when they're starting to roll things, is when they switch to man-to-man. They're even more depleted in the secondary now. So we'll get a really good sense of it. My guess is that if it's a close game after 10 minutes, it could get interesting, and then we'll have to wait for the second half adjustments to happen. But my gut tells me that Georgia Tech's just not in a position to do it. I think Miami's highly motivated by a couple of things, whatever coach speak they give. This is a year ago from being turned into like national ridicule and a meme for Mario, right? With the take a knee Tecmo Bowl, as I call it.
Right.
And so even though he does the coach speak and the team has come up to the whole 1-0 thing, down deep, he kind of wants to probably have Cam Ward take 4 knees at the end of this game. And I think that they're probably going to be able to deliver on that when it's all said and done. I don't think it's going to be like a 30-point blowout. I think they'll cover the spread, which is the last time I checked was actually down to 10. So, I'm thinking more like a 17-point win is what I would project. But in 10 minutes, text me 10 minutes into the game, and I'll tell you what I think is going to happen from there.
Really? Okay.
I just don't think it's going to be one of those things where Miami comes out strong and then Georgia Tech comes back. I don't think it's going to be like the first play of the season when Georgia Tech gave up a touchdown to Florida State and everyone's like, oh, it's going to be a romp. And then Georgia Tech came back and drove on Florida State. I think you'll get a sense of whether like Georgia Tech's even up to the task because Haynes, is okay to actually play.
Do you guys have any questions about the game? I had one other question I wanted to ask him.
So what's the rest of the season look like for Miami, Rock? So you've got Georgia Tech, then you've got 3 more games. Who do you have?
We have 2 more games after Georgia Tech. We have Wake Forest, which is Wake Forest, so that's fine. And then, it's at Syracuse, which last week 2 weeks ago I wasn't worried about. 4 weeks ago I was worried about. Now I'm a little bit worried about it again. So that's where they wind up, and is Wake Forest after this, and then Syracuse. They'll be double-digit favorite in all of those games for sure.
Holy smoke! So yeah, very likely to go undefeated here. Okay.
But Syracuse, is like has had some good games. They've also had 4 interception disasters. So, but they still have a winning record, and their strength of schedule and their team is stronger. They've had some lulls. They're kind of inconsistent. But that's the last 2 games for Miami before most likely jumping into the ACC championship game against SMU. But you still got to win the games ahead of you.
So, in any situation outside of a loss, do you see Miami losing do you see them dropping in the polls outside of a loss?
I do not, because you get less and less people having undefeated records, and at some point that values. And as much as Miami, people like to give grief about Miami's schedule, right? And it is what it is. There's not. Miami did schedule Florida out of state like 4 years ago, out of conference 4 years ago. Couldn't have predicted that it was going to be the Billy Napier era that it has become, at least for this season.
Right.
But if you look at the top 12, I could be off by 1 slot, but if you look at the top 12 teams in the ranking strength of schedules, I think Miami was like the 7th. strength of
Okay.
schedule, right? And if you look at the strength of record, Miami's top 5. So,
Okay.
it's
Yeah,
people like to make
BYU's
their
number
first step.
4, and what good did
Yeah,
that do?
BYU's been like number 4 or 2 or 1 on the
Yeah, we're
strength of
getting
record all the
screwed
time.
over and over. Yeah.
Whatever, like I'm not sure how they measure all those, variables in there, but when you go through what is the top 12, the strength of schedule, Miami is like middle of the pack to like lower middle of the pack as opposed to like 12 in the top 12. I didn't go further beyond like the guys who are in 13 to 25. So I don't think they drop from that perspective. I think there is a bit of ridiculousness about brand. There's definitely the benefit of eyeballs having seen them play in the Cameron
Right.
story. I think you got screwed. I think BYU got screwed in the first rankings by a couple of slots, probably.
Yeah.
There's an inconsistency in how they do stuff, but like I don't know why everyone's freaking out about it. That's like first there's like 6 more weeks or 5 more weeks or whatever it is for this to all shake out. And I don't know. I'm old enough to remember beating Florida State and having computers put them in the championship game in 2000 over Miami, despite both having one loss. So like I don't really know why anybody's shocked at all. It just means more in the SEC and whatever the slogan is for the Big Ten. Fill in the blank there, Moen.
And that for that CFP perspective, really quick, do you see any chance? Because if Miami wins out, the minimum number of games the loser of that game would have is 2. Do you see any possibility a 2-loss Clemson or a 2-loss SMU is able to jump all these SEC and Big Ten teams to get one of those last picks?
I don't like in the general world, but I also think that SEC carnage might have more 3-loss teams than people are thinking.
Yeah.
And then I think it just depends. So, a lot of people talk about Georgia being like one of the elite teams. Like I'm not one of them. I'm old enough to see Georgia play really crappy against Kentucky. I'm old enough to see Georgia play really crappy against a crappy, to me, relatively Alabama team. I saw them play against Florida, and like if DJ Lagway doesn't get hurt, like I don't think Georgia's that invincible. I think there's like one elite team in college football right now, in my opinion. That's Oregon. Everybody else is suspect.
Agreed. Moen, you haven't said anything.
Yeah, I just wanted to say I do have a pickup truck. I do have some whiskey. Let's write this song.
Maybe that's what we'll have to do. We'll have
Drink,
to do
baby.
Mad Lib lyrics on Moen After Dark on Sunday when I have something in a beverage container.
Do you have any questions for Ute and I about the Holy War? Obviously, we care a lot about that.
Yeah, like I have a little bit of jealousy. If things hadn't gone this way, like I had this secret plan of going to Atlanta, where I lived twice before I moved in between moving to California, see some friends, see Flo, who's on his way up there, and he's going to hang out with Rec Talk, who you guys have had on the show. And then because the way the timings of the games were going, and I still can't believe they put the BYU Utah game at like 9:30 on the East Coast. It would have been like a perfect.
What am I? Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm. Miami, Georgia Tech at noon. It's a Delta hub. Fly out there, watch you guys destroy each other physically and mentally, and have like a double day, like I was like Curb Street without the plane.
You know what? We would have loved that. You wouldn't have had to pay for
fun.
anything except for getting to Salt Lake.
I know. I've just been like redeeming miles and freaking being a total bum. But I guess I've learned about that rivalry from you guys. But what is it that you think that people don't know or understand about that rivalry that makes some say, it to be one of the, if not the biggest rivalries in college sports, one of the fiercest? I don't know if ugly is the right word. I always have a hard time thinking of like, any church affiliated school being ugly, but then again, I also know Notre Dame and they're like toxic as hell. But like, what makes it, like, what is it that people don't know? Like, besides the fact that any rivalry game can go any way, and even though Utah hasn't had the season that would be expected.
To sum it up, from the highest level, it's like Ute fans, people that go to Utah, when compared to BYU, are kind of seen as the black sheep. It's kind of like the bad boys, bad girls, whereas BYU seen as more of like, a goody-goody. Like just a real, that's when you really distill it down, and there's a lot of components that go into that. But culturally, there's that kind of feel. And so outside of the normal rivalry, because of where the schools are, because of the religious affiliation, that's a dynamic that creates conflict.
Is it really narrowed down to like milkshakes versus spiked milkshakes when it's all said and done?
It's deeper than that.
It's deeper.
Yeah, so Utes just a little bit younger than I am, but I can tell you right now, it's toxic all the way back into the 60s when Utah used to dominate. So let's do a history lesson. We'll start from 1922. We're not going to go into the 1800s, but 1922 to 1972 was 50 years. In that 50 years, Utah won probably 70% of those games, okay? BYU hires Lavelle Edwards, and the next 30 years is hell for Utah fans. Not 20 years, 30 years. So there's recency bias with a lot of the people that are younger, Utes age, and even younger than that. They don't understand that before that it was Utah, then it was BYU, then it was Utah for another 20 years, and certainly since they joined the Pac-12. So just from a competitive standpoint, that's big, right? But we go deeper than surface level. Most of these other rivalries, we could analyze them, and there's certain touch points we don't talk about on this show. Politics, faith, and religion. And the reason we don't is because you can't win an argument talking about there's nothing to win there. You're attacking a person's core beliefs, right?
Sure.
And
we have enough of that in the last freaking few weeks.
Right. It's toxic. Talk about toxic, right?
Right.
But Ute and I now, we can compare the last 20 years and identify with the things that have happened in the last 20 years. And I can tell you from that perspective, there's we're polar opposites going into this new age of rivalry for however long it lasts. Utah was in the Pac-12, played extremely well at the end of that thing before it blew up, and they had earned a level of respect on the field over the period of 10 years. Okay, BYU was in the wilderness, independent, fighting for their lives, and that earned some respect in the world. It really did. They did stuff a lot of independents haven't done outside of Notre Dame. They come in, and now they're in the Big 12, and they really grasp that thing like a life preserver. Okay, it's the easiest way to describe it. Utah, their conference disintegrated underneath their feet like sand, and in a lot of cases, there's even arguments where Utah helped destroy it, which is kind of ironic. So Utah now had their world ripped apart, and now they're trying to rebuild. Part of their brains is over here. We think we're bigger. Part of our brains is now we have to play BYU every year again. I guarantee you there weren't any more people in the entire world that didn't want to have the rivalry come back than Utah fans. They thought they'd turned the page. They thought they were up and gone, and they wouldn't have to deal with it. They were in the Pac-12. BYU was never joining the Pac-12. So there was no situation that was going to come back. So now Utah is thrust into this position where they have PTSD from their conference disappearing, PTSD from friends in other conferences that have told them they're really good, and now BYU's 8-0. So you pile religion, identity, faith, the church. I didn't even talk about the church and the government in this state, started by the LDS Church. Brigham Young started both schools. Brigham Young started the University of Utah. They have a statue of Brigham Young.
See, we kind of like FAU in Miami and give a little bit of respect to Louisville because of like what Howard Schnellenberger did. And that's not even like the starter of a church.
Right. Well, and when you start talking about identity politics, you talk about faith and religion now, it's a whole different thing, right?
Yeah.
Go ahead,
go
ahead.
You're right. Like, bring that all in, and we're not going to get it like specifically into those components, but you have to understand that is part of what makes the tension. Like, just saying like that's a real tension because BYU is affiliated with the LDS Church. Utah, ironically, half the people that go to Utah are LDS, but then half of them aren't, and they grew up in Utah, and they're kind of like that black sheep type of dynamic and stuff.
I didn't even talk about family, did I? I completely forgot about it. Go ahead, you get that.
But that creates a certain tension in itself and everything, and culturally we all live and integrate with that and everything. But it's just an excuse to kind of take anything out, and plus the rivalry, plus the closeness, plus the competitiveness, plus the blue versus the red. I mean, everything's about one opposite of each other and everything. Let me show you. I got to show you guys this, okay? So I posted this earlier on social media. This is absolutely nuts, though. So all week long, I've been hearing on the radio going into work and even on YouTube, watching YouTube videos, like advertisements about this new website that's created by Utah administration and BYU administration in tandem. That's named Rival Right. I'm serious. This has been going on all freaking week. I've been hearing it all. I'm going to share screen right here. This is a website that share right here that they put up over the last couple of weeks, so people know how to behave during this week and during the rivalry game. And it's called Rival Right. And if you scroll down,
sorry,
yeah, go ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say it was promoted in a short video by the presidents of both schools.
Yes.
There you
go.
go.
From the top of the house. And like you can see here, we may be Utes or Cougars, but at the end of the day, we're neighbors, coworkers, community members, and sometimes we're even family, as Nate mentioned. No matter how much you want your team to win, don't let competition get in the way of your common humanity. Keep it competitive and not personal. And then here, check this out, guys. This is how you act. And this is how you don't act as a rival here. Be respectful, be competitive, keep it lighthearted. Do not be rude. Do not get toxic, and do not make it personal. And guess what, guys? It's personal. It's toxic. There's no way to avoid it. They have to put out this kind of garbage and stuff because it is that. Exactly that. There's no way to get around it. This is an insane, like the pressure cooker, the emotion of this game is unlike any I've ever heard of or seen just because of the cultural aspect of it.
I mean, that website, I'm sure it's going to cure cancer next. I mean, so, when you do that kind of thing, it's like, tell us you're out of touch without telling us you're out of touch. I'm sure that everyone's flocking. Are you guys going to get screens up at your tailgates and make sure everybody reviews that before like getting a burger?
Let me tell you, in the 2000s, when you was going to school and these other things, believe it or not, it started getting chippy with fans. There were violent attacks. Something happened with Kyle Whittingham's family. So there is reason for something like that because literally families are ripped apart this week. There's been divorces. It's incredible.
There's some degree of irony here with that going like third degree here of like, it sounds very Notre Dame like canceling a series with Miami back in the 80s into the 90s because
yes,
it was too toxic.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, sorry, Catholics and Convicts t-shirt producers, you're
right. Yeah, you got it.
So that's what it's all about, Rock. Just to give you a little background of it, like it means a lot. The state's the biggest game in the state, right? And like I know a lot of people regionally, nationally haven't experienced that, but like just telling you all, like and showing you the stuff again. I've been hearing these articles and like in these ad reads and everything about rivals. Like, shut up. Like, it's not going to change anything. Like, and for a while there, they tried to rename the game, not the Holy War, but the Beehive Boot.
They did.
Because
that was
they thought
ridiculous.
The Holy War was too divisive because fans would just, like getting fistfights at games. Like good people. We're talking about like people that are reasonable people will lose their minds and just like act like apes. That's basically what it does to folks out here.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait. I can't wait to watch it with all the background that I've achieved from being a part of this crew and watching this channel for like a year now and learning all about all the stuff that like I knew about but didn't know about.
Everything you and I say about anything else in the world, you can always say it's built on that layer of Holy War. That tension was the very first conversation I had with you is, can we do this at all? Can we get along?
I remember one of the first shows I was on. I remember one of the first shows I was on and like got into this stuff and I thought you guys were going to kill each other through the screen.
Yeah. Well, we don't want to kill each other, I promise.
Metaphorically.
Any other questions? Moen, any other questions since we're on the topic?
No, this seems like a pretty light rivalry to me, guys.
All right, well,
listen.
whatever.
Give some background then, okay? I understand that, but like I know how toxic the Ohio State-Michigan game is. Tell the folks, tell everybody how, from an Ohio State perspective, how that game is.
That game is the most toxic game in all of sports. It is toxic to the nth degree. Ohio people who go up to Michigan to watch the game will not buy any services or goods in Michigan. Michigan fans will spit on you. That is pretty common to get spit on, get urine thrown on you. It is toxic. There fights, attacks. Alcohol plays quite a bit of a factor in it. Same thing happens when Michigan folks come down here to Ohio State. People will stand on the overpasses of 71 South. That's a main throughway to come into Columbus. For about 200 miles, they will unfurl banners that say "Fuck Michigan." If you see a car with a Michigan plate on the road, you will honk at them and flip them off. You will tailgate them. It's exceptionally toxic. We would never have a website that says "Don't be toxic to Michigan fans." It would be as toxic as possible to them. They are your enemy. It goes back to the 1830s. Outside of the Civil War, Ohio and Michigan are the only two states who actually had a military conflict. That's what the root of the rivalry is, the Battle of Toledo. So it gets extremely toxic. I can't think of anything more toxic. We talk about politics, we talk about religion. It's way more toxic than that.
Okay. How about you, Rock? Remind me of yours.
I mean, Miami FSU is probably the biggest one. Like for me, the school I literally loathe the most on the planet Earth is Notre Dame. And the only reason why it's not Florida is because Florida ducked out more games sooner.
Right.
And there's a whole lot of reasons that go back to like where I went to high school, people who went there, but just, a school that had no problem taking, W's at Miami forever. Then as soon as they got bad and Miami got good and they backed out. But Florida State Miami is probably the best one to use as the example. And that's really just because it's in state, right? Like it's similar to what you guys have, but both those programs were both upstarts, right? And they were fierce forever. You have many divided houses. You have kids on both sides of the rosters who were on teams for 10 years together before they decided to go to different places. And probably the thing that makes it like fierce, but I think there's some who are just going to be like hating completely on each other on that one. That's more like Miami, Notre Dame, or Miami versus Florida. And I'm sure Florida State and Florida. Miami and Florida State is more of like iron sharpens iron, national championship games on the line for like a decade plus with legendary games. So it's just a fierce thing. And you have like a very different mix of people who will literally beat the crap out of each other in the parking lot to people who can be a little bit more fierce rival, begrudging, gritting your teeth, respect kind of perspective. But it ranges the gamut. And those games are wild. This year's was a little bit different because we were already just gloating in the insanity that has been Florida State season, and it was the diminished game as a result. But like I wasn't unhappy.
Yeah, very fair. I want to answer this. So I don't think Ute and I have explained. Ute brought that up because he didn't like the fact that they would even try to do that. The point is they're trying to do it. It's not civil. It's the opposite of civil. That's the point. You're misunderstanding the thread. If you're watching this and you're watching it on record or whatever, it's not civil at all. It's uncivil. It is not. You can't compare it. Somebody says it's weak. It's this, that, and the other. I'm looking at all these comments. It's the opposite of those things. The reason they come up with this rivalry thing is the schools are trying to tamp it down. That's how extreme it's gotten. So
it's gotten so toxic they had to disclose this stuff because
it's completely opposite of what you guys are saying.
To the administrations for both schools, it's a blight, right? Like just the fact that fans behave like the way they do, like they just think it from an administrative standpoint, they kind of think it's despicable. They want to get rid of that type of behavior, but like that's just intertwined in the game and how the fans are. So they're doing whatever it takes to try to retrain and reteach fans.
And I think it's like the reaction it provokes is actually completely against what you're hoping to achieve, because people are just going to laugh at it and even want to rebel more against it and even be angrier. Like Utah fans are probably just generally pissed right now, right? Because the season hasn't gone that way, and BYU's in a gloating mode. I would be. I know I am. So.
Absolutely, yeah.
So it's
for
just
sure.
like this could be one of the worst ones for a multitude of reasons.
Me and my son are going to be there. We'll be in Royal. We're going to meet up with Ute and Drake. And we're going to go to the tailgate. That'll be a lot of fun. But, if you're there at the game and you know where Pig Bus is or you know where the tailgate is, Ute and I stand out pretty well. He's a little taller than I am. And we're not going to be hiding. So if you guys want to come up and say, hey, please do that.
Yep.
And then
we'll be out there. If it gets
separate
rough,
ways.
then we'll get out of there and stuff. I have no idea what to expect. Like,
right.
It's just
Well,
like,
they said they were going to be okay. They said they invited them in, actually. So hopefully it doesn't go south.
We'll let you guys know how it goes.
Hey, we'll take pictures and stuff. It'll be fun.
Live stream of the carnage in the stands, and the game was also happening.
Well, if Utah's getting smoked at halftime, they will leave. They don't stick around for beatdowns. They have no patience for their teams not being good. So the stadium will empty out if they're getting worked. On the reverse is if they're ahead, yeah, the stands could get a little dicey.
But you guys will be more sober. So
well, you won't be.
Sober.
I will be.
That's what I mean. Like BYU side will be a little bit more able to handle.
Yeah, I'm gonna have my son with.
Better.
I'll have my son with me. He's stronger than I am. He's my bodyguard.
He's gonna be the bouncer for Bomber.
Hey, I'm gonna try.
Case of alter.
Gonna try.
It's gonna be an interesting experience.
It'll be a lot of fun. So those are our picks, Moen. Rock, do you want to stick around? We're gonna go through news and Q&A and stuff.
I'll stick around for a bit until the phone dies, but I don't want to sidetrack more.
No, you're doing fine. Thank you we appreciate you coming on.
Of course.
Moen, go ahead.
Becky Go Huskies has been a member for 8 months. Since both schools have a Brigham Young statue, winner should take the loser statue. What are you going to do with 2 Brigham Young statues?
Yeah, I don't know what that would do.
Well, didn't Brigham Young, he started at University of Utah first, didn't he, Bomber? And then he started at BYU second?
Yeah, BYU. It was actually BYU Academy. It started in the middle of Provo. Interesting fact, my great-grandmother graduated from BYU-A in 1919, I think. And then it changed its name in 22, and that's when the official football record starts for BYU, not for Utah.
We got a $5 super chat from Ryan.
Sweet.
Williams.
Thank you, Ryan.
Greg cracked up laughing when I told him that I despise Notre Dame more than Minnesota. Oof. Yeah, now that just makes you a normal red-blooded American. There's nothing wrong
I
with
think
that.
we all despise Notre Dame.
Good job.
Give him the evil badger, Moan. Come on. Give him the evil badger.
That's legitness, what he said right there.
That was legitness. Yeah, it was.
I mean, I'm very torn, though. Right, tomorrow night is a very torn game for me because it's Notre Dame and Florida State. Like, it is a tails I win, heads they lose kind of thing, but I actually don't know what I'm rooting for. Whether I want Notre Dame to have a tough game so that optically they're in bad shape for the playoff, or if I'm just keep piling it on, or is it enough already for FSU? It's a tough one.
If Notre Dame found a way to lose tomorrow, they might not be in the CFP. 2 losses might not get it for them.
Oh, I think they're definitely not in the CFP if they lose to Florida State on top of the Northern Illinois game. I think that they can make church plans.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, the best thing for Miami and BYU is Notre Dame eating a loss. Like, you got to be rooting for that.
I'm rooting for that and Tennessee to lose. I'm cheering for Tennessee to lose as well.
C. John says, actually, the border war, KU Mizzou is based on a war also.
Yes,
the Civil War, that's correct, bleeding Kansas, but there was no territory exchanged. The Ohio-Michigan War led to territorial exchanges.
There you go.
If you ever wonder why Michigan has the Upper Peninsula, that's why. We technically won Toledo, and I still don't understand how that's a win.
The border war is extremely toxic.
Yes,
I've got family on both
too.
sides, KU alum and Mizzou alum, and they absolutely hate each other's guts. Like, it's super, super, super toxic. And you wouldn't think that necessarily, but
I didn't know that.
It's bad.
I think any rivalry that's based on actual bloodshed usually tends to be some of the
so we
most
got some
toxic
commonalities
rivalries.
there too. So we've got that as well.
Bloodshed.
All right, guys, let's jump into the news here. I want to get this article up from Pat Forty at
We
Sports
respect
Illustrated.
Pat 40. Yes, we do.
And it's going to
Is this going to be triggering from 1 to 10? This article.
That's a good point.
The byline is 2 initiatives for the College of Football call for either a super league of FBS
Lord
teams
have mercy.
or outside investment into an entity that resembles the Power Four conferences.
Oh boy. Who wants to go first?
In the never-ending, let me read this first. We get it out here. In the never-ending journey to find more money as college football hurtles towards a major reallocation of its resources, leaders appear to be exploring 3 different tracks. The Southeastern Conference Big Ten Power Play. The College Sports Tomorrow Initiative, called the College Sports Football League.
That's the stupidest name in the world. Can I just tell
That
you
would
that?
develop a multi-billion-dollar super league encompassing all 136 football programs.
That is the stupidest idea I've ever heard in my life.
The Smash Capital outside investment plan, dubbed Project Rudy, which would pour billions in new money into a single business entity that largely maintains the current structure of the Power Four conferences, the SEC, Big Ten, Atlantic Coast, and Big 12. And he left this out here, but it allows Notre Dame to remain.
It's a Notre Dame league. Just call it what it is. Notre Dame league.
All 3 tracks meet resistance at varying points. None is without flaws. They all have competing interests, but the race is on to plot the course into a future that will include sharing a massive amount of revenue with the athletes. How best to take on that added expense while simultaneously trying to get richer. All right. Let me take that down for a second. Let's talk it over.
Who wants to go first? I'm going last.
Out of all these ideas,
Rock's unmuted. Rock's unmuted.
All right, let Rock go.
And then you.
I'm just
rip it.
Getting ready to laugh out loud.
And that's what I've been doing.
Craziness.
I agree with Tony Lawson. I like Plan 1. You get the best brands. Pick apart the ACC. Pick up what you need from there. You have the Big Ten SEC scheduling alliance that allows you to schedule a Big Ten SEC game at least once a year between all your teams. You get more money from your media partners, ESPN and Fox, and it allows you to pay these athletes.
It allows 32 teams to pay their athletes, Moen.
There'll be more than 32.
It allows 40. There are 133 teams, 134 teams.
Okay.
You're servicing less than a third of them.
Okay, but you're servicing the biggest third of them.
I don't care. That's not college football.
Not until
college
you get
football's
Rudy in
got
there.
to evolve.
You don't have the biggest brands until you get Florida State and Notre Dame in there.
Oh, they'll be
You
there.
better expand and grab those 2 if you're going to try that stunt.
I don't even think it works with that. I think you got to get at least close to half for it to pass muster with Congress. I think it would get shut down.
Lord. I don't know about that, man. Like, they think the wrong election happened to get antitrust stuff.
Okay, so there you go. It depends who wins an election. That's true. All I'm saying is, one, nothing's going to happen next year. No matter what Kyle Whittingham says, this is not happening tomorrow. However, I have talked to industry titans that have told me that you go anywhere above about 48 and it starts to get dicey, like Moen's saying. 48, you're making mad money. Mad money. So is your school in or out? Are you in for the whole thing? Are you willing to sell your soul to be in that league? Some will, some can't. But I don't think it's any smaller than 48 teams.
I think this thing is going to be a Project Rudy. I think it's a fantastic idea. I really do. Like in Notre Dame, they usually come up with stupid ideas, but this one's just absolutely brilliant. I really think so. I think that you let all the A4 pull away from everybody else. You get paid a ton of money and stuff, and you just call it Project Rudy so Ohio State can be a part of Project Rudy. I don't know what you would like more than just being part of the Notre Dame plan right there. And it benefits Ohio State. It benefits Notre Dame. It benefits those elite level tier A teams that are going to get paid more than everybody else.
Including BYU and Utah.
Yeah, it absolutely it prolongs the holy war to perpetuity.
Let's go.
The game around. Miami gets in. Miami gets to play Florida State in the future, and Notre Dame's happy.
Yeah.
And guess what? Everyone's going to get a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow.
I would love that.
That's the nice thing.
Right? Yeah,
right?
I would love that. Yeah.
I think plan
So-
1 and plan 3 are going to get together and have a bastard stepchild for a kid, and that's what we're going to wind up having.
Plan 2 sucks, though. Plan 2 is absolutely stupid. I agree with that because there's just too many milkers. We talked about
That's
milk
right.
a lot. There's so many milking programs, and the A4 it's kind of borderline with Project
Yes.
Rudy, but you're not as bad. You're not going to
Yeah.
have as much milking. Even like if the SEC and the Big Ten break away, there's just too many milkers still. Like, I mean, if that's the idea and everything, it's just to get the uber elite, you got too many suckers. Like, you got to actually break away and get paid max money. If that's really what's all about, then why are you wasting your time doing that? I'm sick of this SEC and Big Ten love fest. This thing that's going
Me
on.
too.
Make me sick.
Me too. I'm with you.
I just think the thing people need to like stop thinking about personally is it does not matter what has happened before. Some people are not going to care if people get left out and don't have the money to pay.
I agree with that.
Just because academic alliances, there's always ways to figure that kind of stuff out going forward. Eventually, greed takes root at its highest level in all of this crap. It does in every other industry, and people are going to get left out, whether we like it or not, or whether it was college football or not, whether you used to think horse and buggies were rocking or now you have an EV, right? It doesn't matter. Eventually, it's going to get down to like survival of the fittest.
There we go. Hey, 5
Greg's
gifts
comment.
mowing.
That's freaking funny.
Well,
Read
first
Greg's
you
comment.
understand,
Sorry, you got to read that.
The Big Ten and SEC gifted 5 memberships to the college football mafia family.
You.
Woohoo! Let's go.
That's
Memberships.
Jeff Bell, Scavin, yes, Jimmy Otson, Tom Dubay,
Yes.
and John Bennett. You are all now members
Congratulations.
of the family. Make sure you support tier number 1. That's what we support around here. Tier number 1, Big Ten
All right.
SEC Alliance.
If you received a gift tonight, and that's really cool, right? We like giving those things away. Consider paying it forward, giving somebody else a gift. Share the membership bonuses that they get by becoming a member. Got a huge library we built in the off season. I mean, massive, like almost 100 videos about realignment, about everything that has to do with every conference. Become a member and help us get this thing through the end of the year and get through the playoff. It really does help us. I know small donations affect everybody. Nothing is a small donation to the person making it. So we're very, very appreciative of the members we continue to have and the members that have come back. So again, if you receive one, possibly pay it forward. I believe in karma, like for real in life. I think it'll just help the universe if you pass it on, pass the love on to somebody else.
Guys,
All right, let's
this
get back to that
conversation-
Flugar comment. Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
let's get back to. You know what? I just this is compelling stuff. After hearing Moan talk about like the SEC, the Big Ten, like breakaway and taking all the money and kicking everybody else out, I think that we need to do a video series on the weakest links in the Big Ten and the SEC for Notre Dame to bond with here. So there's got to be weak links, and number one's Texas A&M. I think that make a video series on the 5 weak links that you get to pluck away to form this new super conference, Project Rudy, whatever. There's weak links out there. They're the SEC. I can smell it, Moan. They're out there. They're out there, and Texas A&M is going to get plucked. They're at number 1. Number 2 has got to be like a Florida. We'll have to see. We'll have to do the analysis and see the weakest links.
Well,
Notre
Big Ten
Dame
already
can
has
keep-
Nebraska. They don't need Florida.
That's true.
Oh,
Well, yeah,
brother.
Nebraska.
You guys are being. Wow.
Just a shot at
Bloods?
Nebraska.
Blue Bloods. You're taking shots at teams that have got 5 national championships. And
Who's the most discontented in the SEC and the Big Ten? That's the weakest links, and it's probably Nebraska. It's certainly an A&M after this Texas getting entry into the SEC. I guarantee you they're pissed off.
I'll tell you something, Wild. Nobody is discontent in the Big Ten when those checks come. When those checks come in
Nebraska.
from the media partner, Nebraska gets paid the same as everybody else. They're ecstatic. Why would they say, let's take ourselves out of the best conference? And
well, of course, they're milking. Why would they do
that's
that?
right. Well,
Their
That's
fan
what the
base
Big Ten
deserves
is.
it. Their fan base deserves to like trade their team for an amazing fan base. We'll give them that. Man, that team. Wow.
Yeah, the weakest links. Think about that. Who are the wedges that can start Project Rudy? That is exactly what's going on right now in Notre Dame's campus. They're trying to figure out the weakest link. They're making calls, they're making moves and stuff. They're making this thing happen. They're making this thing happen for everybody in the A4, baby. Everybody's included in the A4. It's not just the SEC and the Big Ten. Notre Dame's a champion. Man, they are Project
Notre
Rudy.
Dame is looking out for Notre Dame, what Notre Dame has done for the last 100 years. If you think that they really have the common welfare of the people in the Big 12 or the ACC, you are sorely mistaken.
I don't think anybody's saying that, Moen. I don't think
Only of
anybody's saying that.
themselves. Hence the name Project Rudy. Rudy was offsides.
Yeah, we're not. Here we go. I'm saying nobody's defending Notre Dame here, right? Everybody knows that there's these schools, like Ute says, that have been just hanging around. Let's talk about it. Notre Dame's last national championship, 1988. So that's almost 40 years ago, people. That's the same amount of time that it's been that Texas A&M has spent like 60 or 65.
I mean, Moses discovered his homeland after
that's
wandering
right.
in the desert.
This is before the internet, people. This is before cell phones. It was before we had discs this big in school for our computers. So I'm telling you right now, it's a 2 generations separated away. And yet they're a brand. You can't say they're going to be left out. So it's probably going to be a hybrid of these three, but I hate all three ideas. The one I would like is you take the best ones that have been competitive over a long period of time, and you say, distill those down to, okay, what are the ones that are going to make us the most money without kicking out? So you take out some that are milking, but you add others that have contributed. So I don't know. It's a mess. It's not going to be settled tomorrow, though. I'll tell you that right now.
Project Rudy, at least you can control your own destiny if you're in. You can
That's
move
fair.
up to a different tier.
Yeah, that's fair.
Unlike, the SEC and the Big Ten thumbing their nose right now. There's no way to get in there, right? Like, we're done. Like, here's the difference. Like, Notre Dame is actually giving the ACC and the Big 12 a shot to be at the highest levels of college football through Project Rudy. Whereas this SEC and Big Ten breakaway is basically giving us the bird. So why wouldn't you support that? They're actually doing something that benefits everybody in the ACC and the Big 12, unlike the other idea of the breakaway. So, of course, we're going to support that. Of course. It makes sense, right?
Yes.
No.
Somewhere over the rainbow.
No, it does not. I will put it this way. The Big Ten and the SEC have worked their butts off to get where they are, and they should be allowed to enjoy the spoils of their victories. We had to kill the pack. We killed the pack. The Big 12 helped us kill the pack. Thank you. The SEC helped put a damper on the Big 12 for a minute. Big 12 survived. So I think there's a place for everybody in this world. You can have McDonald's and Wendy's team up, and there's still room for a Burger King.
Well, there you go. Okay.
Big 10 is Wendy's.
All right. All right. What's the next thing? What are we talking about next?
Hey, Rock's battery's dying now. We need to send him off and everything.
Need to let him go.
Final thoughts, Rock.
I just am looking forward to seeing you guys go to battle tomorrow. Hopefully it's the SEC elimination day, but I wish I thought that was really true, because I don't know if I believe that a 3-loss SEC team is going to actually be eliminated, because it just means more always, right? Means more conspiracy, more bullcrap, more unfair treatment. But hopefully it turns out to be that way, and it leads into a great nightcap that I don't see you guys on arrest records or anything.
All right, so Ute's in the north end zone. I'm in the southwest, just so you know locales. The stadium, the press box is on the west side. So
you're good to go. That's in the that's where the BYU section is.
Oh, is it really? Oh, well, that's great.
You're near the BYU section.
Okay,
yeah, you're not gonna have any issues over there.
Okay, I had no idea.
If BYU gets upset, wow, then the carnage of the Big 12 is back in even a more insane way, right?
It'll be brutal, bloodbath type stuff.
Well, I hope you guys have a good time.
Thanks, we appreciate it, Rock. Thanks for joining us.
Of course.
Yep. See you Sunday,
we'll see you
Rock.
later.
See you Sunday, man.
Peace.
Good. Bye.
That's awesome. Thanks for joining, Rock. We appreciate it.
Project Rudy. It's got to get some more enhancements and everything. We'll get there, guys. We'll get there.
Yeah, I just
don't give up.
The problem I have is that because it was started by Notre Dame, the Big Ten won't participate. The SEC maybe could be talked in, maybe with money even. But the Big Ten, I don't think they'll play. I don't think so. So
Yeah, the SEC commissioner Greg Sankey said he already did not want to dumb down SEC football at all. So he's not going to participate in any Super League discussion, not while he's commissioner.
yeah.
Well, tell him to kick out Mississippi State then if he doesn't want to dumb down his conference.
Got
to have winners and losers. Got to have winners and losers, guys.
Winners and losers. Okay. All right. Do you have any other news, Moen?
Yeah.
Let's
we
let's
can
run through
go.
some comments. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say we can go through some comments. I'll let you go ahead and go through some comments, Nate. I'm going to look through this article.
Okay. All right. So we appreciate everybody being here. Certainly, Rock joining. I'm sorry it was a little bit late. I had my massage therapist works on my neck and whatnot. So we appreciate everybody being here. We know there's a lot of stuff going on, right? There's basketball going now. There's football games going right now. And we appreciate you guys taking the time, spending a little time with us on a Friday night. I think we'll probably go another 20, maybe 25 minutes. We're going to try to keep it a little bit shorter tonight. We have a family commitments, the three of us. So we'll sort of get through as many of these comments as we can. Right now, we've got roughly 26 starred. So keep leaving your comments. If you want your comment to be guaranteed to be read, make it a super chat. Other than that, we will get through these, and you guys keep giving them to us. And, we'll start a conversation here. We really appreciate everybody being a part of that. All right, here we go. I'm going to jump back to the very beginning of the show with comments I didn't even see before I got here. So let me just start at the top. Normally start at the bottom. I want to start at the top with some of our early. So you guys already covered you said hello to everybody, right?
That's
I think
right.
I came in at the end of that. So we're going to start. Let's see. Timothy Green, Nathan Campbell, no, not a new head coach. We did get a new defensive coordinator. That's West Virginia he's talking about, right?
Yes.
That's right.
Okay. So do we think that is going to have any effect in this first game?
No.
No. No.
I
The coordinator change isn't really what you need to do. It's the head coach change.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think you're right. No, I'm sure West Virginia wants results.
Well, listen, Florida's not firing Billy Napier.
I was just going to mention that. Yeah.
What happens to Neil Brown? Maybe he sticks around another year, Mountaineer fans. I apologize, but that might happen.
That's going to happen.
Could you imagine another year where they end up 8-4 or 7-5? Oof. They have high expectations there. I just don't know. Anyway, Earl Carr. Good to see you, Earl. My friends in the BYU Utah game. I must remind you, BYU has not beat. Oh, we did that one. That one didn't get flagged. You already did some of these, guys, and they just never got taken off. How about this one? Hi, two geniuses. Let's go. Drama-filled week 11.
Hey,
Thank you so much for being here, Greg. We appreciate you joining last week. That was a lot of fun. Covering for Ute, who had family commitments. Thank you for being here. Tony Lawson. Will there be a segment in the total collapse of the Badgers tonight?
No.
I don't have an opinion on that.
We already talked about this one, Tony.
Okay.
We can talk about the Badgers collapse when you have the Axe back in Minnesota.
Okay. All right. Moen's casting stones there. All right. Antoine Coates, perception is not going to change with Miami. The committee story will change with Miami if they win a close game. They've already won a couple close games. They almost lost a couple games. So I agree. They're too high to fall if they stay undefeated. I don't think there's a question about that. Do you guys?
Yeah, I think Miami, if they win the next three, and it's very winnable, they're going to get in no matter what.
And they'll be the 3 seed at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for the comment, by the way. We appreciate those things. Tony Lawson, FSU went 1-7 in the ACC this year. Oh no, they're 1-7 now. They probably have one or two games left.
Yeah, 4 games left, I guess, for 12 to make 12 for the year.
Talk
They're
about high
1-7.
expectations. How did he not get run already?
Who,
He's
Mike
got to be
Norvell?
that money.
Yeah.
It's a huge buyout. They just gave him an extension.
Oh, brutal.
It's like Neil Brown, the same thing. He gave an extension his last season, and it's hard to buy him out now. You need the money to go to the players.
Yeah.
And Florida State's going to have to raise a bunch of money and everything to pay the players and buy out coach Norvell. That's rough.
You do the next couple comments. There's a tweet I wanted to share with everybody from Mitt Winter. Give me a second.
Okay.
I just remembered.
From our Beaver fan, Clint Moses, respect to Bomber picking University of Washington.
Yes,
and
sir.
Wildview picking Utah. There you go.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
You picked your
Absolutely.
alma mater. Congratulations.
Hey, no, that was a difficult decision.
Hey, you make that sound extremely easy. It's always tough every week, Moen.
Sorry, but BYU is ranked too damn high. I like the Beaver pun.
That's
K-State and Colorado should not be ranked at all. I'll stop.
woof. Woof. Somebody
K-State,
throwing
after the
stones.
loss to Houston, there could be an argument for them to go unranked. It's true. That was a really tough loss. CU, and they had that Nebraska loss, the K-State loss. I mean, yeah, you can make an argument they shouldn't be ranked.
You can make an argument that Nebraska lost to UCLA, and they absolutely blew Colorado out of their shoes in one quarter. So
Somebody told me that Nebraska was really good. That's all I'm saying.
Ryan Willie said, "Go Hawks." I'm assuming you mean the Hawkeyes.
Hawks?
The Hawkeyes
Yeah.
will play tonight against UCLA. They
Yeah,
just beat Nebraska.
You say go Hawks, I immediately go Seattle. I apologize.
Tony Lawson says the Big Ten motto is "It just pays more."
Mm-hmm.
Here we go.
Yeah.
I can't.
Nathan Campbell says to the panel, after these pickups out of the ACC for the Big 12, who's the best pickup?
What?
Out of the
what?
ACC?
Oh, out of the it's easy.
It's
Yeah,
Louisville.
Well, they're first in,
Right,
but
right.
they wouldn't be the diamond, right? Not to put Louisville down. We want Louisville. We want Louisville. Don't misunderstand. But Florida State, then Clemson in that order.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, Moen.
Yes, sir.
Let me do this so that we can cover it. Sorry, we'll get to the next comments. Don't worry. So I can't. I just brought this up because I want to share the link. It was a John Canzano article. He actually just took a recently posted message from the AD at Oregon. So I will post that link if you haven't had a chance to see it. John Canzano first brought it to my attention, so there's the link to watch that. I can't make it bigger; it's so small. But basically, this is crazy. This is an Oregon AD begging for money. He is. He's begging for money because the House settlement, which hasn't been agreed, still in challenges. But if the House was ever to be fully implemented, what have we gone to, guys? $20 million relative cap. 85 spots you can now do for scholarships. You can have an up to 105 attendance of players. So you can have 20 that aren't on scholarship. But in those players, every dollar you give them counts against their $20 million house fee. So Ute plays football. He's player 86 at Utah. He's not on scholarship. Now they could give him like a private entity could pay for his school, but it's not a scholarship from the school. They pay Utes. They give him a scholarship to come play. That money counts against what they can pay two players to be on their teams. Mitt Winter Online, and I'll find that link. I'll share it in just a minute. Basically said, as it is right now, for Oregon to pay those players, they're going to have to come up with relatively close to an additional $10 to $15 million to cover those scholarships. Lots of money, people. So now do the math. If your cap as a school is $20 million, and that $20 million is supposed to cover all of your sports, including women's sports, by the way, And that's the most a school can give as an incentive. Now what happens? They have less money in the coffers of the school to give to scholarships for those other players if they wanted to pay them. So now if you want to subsidize those players, either you say the school's not going to do any more scholarships than 85, right, which is the House limit now, and just stop there and say private entities will have to pay for those other 20 scholarships, or you do the reverse, the school pays them, and now you're double begging for private entities to pay for those kids' schools on top of all the other money they want to pay them, the 1 million, the 750,000, whatever that number is. This math matters, people. These are not just numbers I picked out of the air and I thought were important. These are important numbers. And every school is going to have to balance them. And if Oregon, of all schools, which I think might have the number one NIL this moment in the United States, if that's possible, and they're still begging for more, what does that tell you about a Utah? What does that tell you about a Texas Tech? What does that tell you about a Syracuse? They're in power conferences, right? And they're public entities. I exclude Notre Dame. I exclude BYU. I exclude any private schools. Even Baylor they have money, oil money down there. How are these schools going to compete? Ute, I know you've been taking notes.
Cut
What are your
sports.
thoughts?
It's cutting sports. I mean, like, it's basically like, okay, your football program was very profitable in the past, and now you've got to shell a ton out in NIL money from the house case to football players and whoever else, and you just became a less profitable organization, essentially. So the only way you can hedge against that is to cut expenses and cut other sports and just eliminate other type of scholarship sports. And it's going to have to be scholarship sports that you can eliminate on the guys' side and the girls' side and stuff for Title IX purposes. But the solution there, I mean, I'm assuming that Oregon's trying not to cut any sports, and they're calling for more money to pay for all the sports to keep everything as is. That's just not how it's going to be anymore. You're going to have a choice here. You can't have all the sports you used to have because the money that was paying for your scholarship is now going to the football players and others that are getting paid. That's just how it is. And so it's just about cost cutting. And everyone's going to have to cut a lot of costs. There won't be as many scholarships. It's going to absolutely hammer the Olympic sports.
Moen, sorry. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No. I was just going to follow up just to get the final line from Mitt Winter. And you're not going to get better in sports legal terms. He says, yes, there will be walk-ons. In other words, those other 20 players that a team can have, unless the school gives a full scholarship to every player on the roster. And then the last statement, which is a definitive statement, which won't happen everywhere. Moen.
Yeah, this is a perfect reason why we need that Big Ten SEC alliance. Get more media revenue from your media partners.
Why do you got to be a dick?
I'm not being a dick. I'm being
You are
honest.
being a
Listen,
dick right now.
It's either cut costs or raise revenue.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You wants to cut costs.
Right.
I want to raise revenue.
Well, you're going to beg. So can you see Ohio State sending out that same letter? Did you read the letter, by the way? Did you see it?
I'll have to send you all the letters that the NIL fund for Ohio State has sent me.
No. This came from the AD at the school. They're different.
Trust me, the AD at Ohio State was highlighted in those NIL letters. Gene Smith, when Gene Smith was the AD, particularly asking Ohio State fans to give money to the NILs.
No, that's okay. You missed. We were great, and then you went this way. This is not money for the NILs. He is begging money for the school.
Sure, boosters.
Yeah. So it's one thing for an NIL to go out and beg. Everybody's used to that. I'm talking about an AD at a school that is actually begging boosters to support the boost. They want to boost the program.
Yes.
Not boost the NIL to pay players.
I don't think that's as uncommon as you think it is.
I'm not saying it's uncommon at all. What I'm saying, this is public.
He's doing it publicly, yes.
I haven't heard yours, right? This is new to me. This is the first time I've seen anything like this from a school. Certainly somebody that's spending up to the max on everything.
Yeah, for the most part, they will go out there and they will do it in a subversive or, subliminal way where
It's crazy.
Ryan Day will come out and say, in order to compete, we got to have $27 million a year.
Yeah,
That is code for boosters. Give the football program $27 million a year if you want to
that
win.
is incredible to me.
And then what
That's
happens when
crazy.
you lose? Then it gets super toxic. When you
Well,
fund a program and you
listen.
start losing, then fans are like, "F this."
That's
Paying for
Absolutely.
your football team.
that happened before we were even paying players. So you look at Texas.
No, we know that. Yeah,
Yeah,
bags
it's
of cash. Yeah, we know.
boosters have always been toxic. You're never going to get toxic boosters out of there. Real quick, we got a super chat here from Ryan
Yeah,
Willie.
yeah.
Mowing the Badger season hasn't lived up to
Ryan.
expectations. Just as long as you hold on to that axe, Ryan, that's the most important thing. If you hold on
Thank
to
you,
that
Ryan,
axe,
for the super chat.
you give another ding to the Minnesota Golden Gophers. I think you can consider it. It may not be a perfect season, but it's not a bad season either. Thank you
Hey,
for
Ryan,
the super chat.
and thank you for being a member, Ryan, for as long, an OG, somebody that has real bills and a family. We really appreciate that very much. All right. Let me get back in here then. Sorry, I was looking at, there's one other slide I want to show before the show's over. We're not doing it right now. So we've got about 10 minutes, just so everybody knows, 10 minutes. If you want your chat to be read, just like Ryan Willie's just was, it'll have to be a super chat. I'm counting down on the ones we've already got flagged. Becky Go Huskies, contributor, member in the house, saying, did they talk about the website the two schools created together? Yes, they do. In the video, they do that. Yeah. That's what pissed off Ute the most was the video. I can almost guarantee you. I don't think Utah can score enough. The offense has struggled lately. Justify your win there, Ute.
Yeah, it's because we're throwing a new quarterback out there, and at least there's something unexpected because it's been terribly bad. It cannot get much worse. You're one of the worst offenses in the nation, so you have nothing to lose, and the quarterback can run, and he's got some swagger. And that's exactly what the Utes have lacked.
Yeah, it's always dangerous when you have somebody new.
And so BYU has a game plan for the kid. Now, who knows? We'll see how he performs. But, hey, that unpredictableness brings an element where the Utes can maybe win.
Moen?
Sometimes you can throw a third-string quarterback out there and they'll win a national championship for you.
It's happened. We've seen. What do you mean, national championship games? You can throw a new quarterback out there and win the game. It's
but
insane.
Ohio State won their last national championship with our third string. So
Cardale, wasn't it?
Cardale Jones was third string. Braxton Miller was first. JT Barrett was second.
Well, the same thing happened with Alabama with Tua Tagovailoa. However, I can't say his name ever, getting replaced, right? Mm-hmm. So, Timothy Green, love to see you, Timothy. Thank you so much for being here. Always giving us the thumbs up and everything else. Thank you. We really appreciate that. I think BYU is bigger in the trenches and they will be beat the Utes this year. They're not bigger. I think they are playing better together. I would say that.
I agree with what you just said, Nate. The same size. The same family members, probably.
Hey, look, if you really compare the last 50 years, BYU and Utah, even with the 30-year and the 20-year split, they're almost identical. I think there's maybe 5 games. I'm talking all their schedules. Everything they've done, positive and negative and ties. If you look at it right now, I think they're maybe separated. It's less than 10 games. So they're mirror images, really. And everybody expected this game to be flipped this year. Everybody thought this would be BYU 4-4 fighting for a bowl and Utah getting ready to go into the playoff. So
thanks, Cam Rising.
Well, we knew. I predicted it. Thank you.
Yeah, you guys did. Moen said before the season he was playing that stupid video game of his and everything. And Cam Rising
wasn't the video game.
You screwed it, Moen.
He got hurt the first drive.
In my lifetime since we started the show, I picked it last summer to happen in the season. So. All right, college football. Good to see you, Greg. College football. Peek around the corner, Greg Flugar, Flug Empire. Thanks for everything you do for us, Greg. Flugarian Empire Plan, Tier 1, Minnesota. Tier 2, all other 133 FBS schools. So that makes sense.
I'd rather be in that plan than the SEC Big Ten garbage that's going on right now.
Yeah, I agree. Yep. If you're going to go big. Go big or go home.
Go big.
Tony Lawson, $2 super chat. Thank you, Tony. We appreciate you. Wisconsin is the textbook example of big milker. Oof.
No, like we oof. They've been sucking you, and sucking you. you.
I haven't heard this for a
Sucking you,
minute,
sucking you,
Moen.
Sucking you.
I love this
You're
song.
sick of it. I get it. They've been sucking
That's
you,
good
sucking
stuff,
you,
baby.
sucking you. And they've been sucking you, sucking you, sucking you. And they've been
I
sucking
need to make
you,
that my
sucking you,
ringtone,
sucking
actually.
you. And you're sick of it. I get
All
it.
right. Go ahead.
Oh, Moen. Okay, go ahead.
Big milker.
Milkers are us. Here we go.
Wisconsin's no milker. Wisconsin gets good ratings, though.
All
Like,
right, there we go.
it's a great super chat. Like, I mean, seriously, it's an elite super chat. But like, the truth is, like, Wisconsin is like a top half Big Ten viewership, so they're definitely not a milker. They're
Look at
getting
this.
milked a little bit. UCLA's milking off the Badgers.
At least Minnesota knows who they are. That's what Greg says. He knows. The Minnesota Golden Milters. Yeah, it's good. Own it, right? Be powerful
gotta own
in
it,
your
man.
choice. That's what I say.
Hey,
Another comment from Tony Lawson. Notre Dame will be calling the big with hat in hand soon enough. Moen.
There you go. Absolutely right. The days of independence are over. Hashtag bend the knee.
All right. Yeah, we'll see. Clint Moses, Sankey was talking about dumb Big 12. Yeah, you don't have to tear down the Big 12 to promote the Pac-12, Clint. We've supported you. There's no reason to be violent against us. The ACC and the Big 12 are the same. Anyway.
I mean, Sankey was talking out of the Big 12. I mean,
Who
at the end of the day.
cares? Yeah. Sankey is, yeah, anyway. Let's not get lost in SEC madness. Shonsky, member. Good to see you, Shonsky. It's been a minute since I've seen your chat. Thank you. The Holy War is like the power of change between the Republicans and Democrats. If you look at the map, actually, Utah wins this game via the election colors because blue got smoked on Tuesday.
Hey, yeah, red colors. That bodes well for this game.
We don't talk politics, though. Holy War, not politics. All right, I'm going to share one more thing, and then we are going to get out of here a little bit early tonight because we work really hard at this stuff. This is, in my mind, the best color combination for any rivalry anywhere. These two, top to bottom, when they are complete, not white, not mixed, none of this other fancy two-tone crap. This is the best color matchup in all of college football. And if you watch the game on Saturday night, and I would recommend, don't even watch the game live. Record it. Watch it on Sunday. The NFL's kind of crap during the season anyway. Watch this game, and you will think these colors, they go together so well. The mix is harmonic at its basis level. So I'm just promising from a uniform standpoint, you're not going to do any better than watching in Salt Lake City, Rice-Eccles Stadium, 8:15, 10:15 Eastern time on ESPN, the Holy War, BYU versus Utah. Go ahead,
Moen,
I'll give you the
you
last
gotta admit,
word.
though. Look at this, like the red and blue combination. Doesn't that give you chills just seeing that?
It looks like Halo. Remember the video game Halo, red versus blue?
Red versus blue.
That's what it looks like.
There are rumors red versus blue was created by some Holy War people. I've seen that on social media. I don't know if it's true.
Well, I mean, that's the default. It used to be when I played Halo, one team was red, one team was blue.
There you go. So. There you go. They started with the Holy War. Programmers from Salt Lake City and Provo. All right, let's get out of here. No. Moen, and then I'll let you go last. I'll say one thing before we go. Go ahead, Moen.
Big games this week in the SEC: Georgia-Ole Miss, LSU-Alabama. Both of them have playoff implications. Big game in the Big Ten. Two big games in the Big Ten. Washington travels to Penn State. That is a whiteout game. If you've never seen a whiteout game, I highly recommend it.
Yes,
it'll
definitely
be on Peacock because NBC would rather have one win Florida State against Notre Dame.
Yep.
Instead of a competitive matchup. Go Indiana Hoosiers beat Michigan.
There you go.
And that Indiana thing's still crazy. How Indiana is
we'll 13
and a half point favorite.
They still have to win games. Michigan.
Windiana.
I want to thank everybody for being here first. Thanks for being for all those. A bunch of people watched our Holy War show. I know Greg Flugar did. Just look, at the end of the day, we're having fun. You can see we're getting along. I don't care what happens on the outside. It's going to be a good game. And I just hope that no craziness happens on the outside to distract from these two teams, because they are a lot closer than they are farther apart. I don't care what the stats are. And if I had to lean one way or the other, the two edges that I picked, I think this is going to be a one possession game and not multiple. So I'll leave you with that. It's been fun. Rivalry week, we got it for 2 weeks. Hopefully it happens next year. And hopefully next year it's the day before Thanksgiving. All right, you.
Absolutely. So final thoughts. Agree with everything you said, Nate. Just remember, if you're going to the game, if you're watching the game, how to be a rival right. Be respectful, be competitive, keep it lighthearted, and do not make it personal, and do not get toxic, and do not be rude. Go Utes.
Go Utes. I appreciate it. Everybody have a great night. Have a good weekend. Mowing After Dark will be on Sunday. What time is that again, Mowing?
7 p.m.
7 p.m. Pretty easy to remember. And everybody stay out of trouble. Have a good weekend. Stay safe. And enjoy your games this weekend. Get out and have fun. It's the drive to the playoff. And honestly, I think this could be the liveliest and most interesting college football scene we have ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about historic numbers for these games. It's going to make the enticement for a Super League that covers the Power Four and maybe a few others, maybe move up higher on the charts. Maybe accelerate something in the ACC settlement. Who knows? But we're going to break records. And definitely, if you have a chance, tune in or record and watch the Holy War. We appreciate it. Everybody stay out of trouble. We'll talk to you soon. Peace out.